I'm curious, where do you see kind of the broker carrier relationship on the whole, like currently, and
I think right now
any
it's
general
probably
thoughts on it?
yeah, I think right now today it's like the worst it's ever been. And part of the problem is because none of these communities talk to each other. As a carrier, you're like, oh, these brokers, they're always ripping me off. Um, and sure, there's definitely some bad actors out there. But what the carriers don't realize is that the good brokers hate those bad brokers too. And they're like, why don't these brokers ever call out these bad guys? I'm like, they do all the time, but they're in their own, you know,
Siloed,
communities.
yeah.
Yeah, like most of your carriers are on Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, etc., and then all your brokers are on LinkedIn. Because I don't know why, but that to me that's just kind of like how I've seen it. There is a fairly medium-sized broker section on TikTok, and they're fantastic because it's amazing what they'll do. They put their phone in front of them, hit record, and they're just on calls all day long, and you really get to see like how the sausage is made. And I wish there was a way that like the good carriers and the good brokers can all come together and just realize it's not like me versus you, it's us versus them. It's all of us in this together trying to build good relationships and move some freight and make some money versus everyone else who's just trying to rip both of us off.
It's a really good point. Ben, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's two things that determine what freight rates are, right? It's a free market with
Mm-hmm.
very little barriers to entry. And then we can talk about what some of those are and the regulations that are meant to put the guardrails on the free market. But at the end of the day, it's the number of loads to be moved and the number of carriers that can move those loads, right? And post COVID, not only do we have way less freight to move, it's getting worse. Like the manufacturing index came out yesterday, it's retracting. Basically, almost every good and service that we use in this country is shrinking. Like US manufacturing is shrinking because they can't get raw materials. People are spending less money at restaurants, less money going out to events, less money on travel. We have less people coming to the country to spend money in our country on food and things, even when they're traveling. We have overall just less things moving. Everything in the economy is shrinking outside of data centers and billions and billions of dollars going into investing into those servers and giant data centers, right? Outside of that, the economy is shrinking. So there's less freight to move. Now, on the carrier side, the carrier market hasn't shrunk. And again, I'll piggyback on what Dean has said on a few episodes and written a lot about is like outside of the pandemic, you had two carrier markets emerge. You had carriers that saved a lot of money, right? That were able to run for less than profitable rates longer than normal. And you had carriers that were able to buy very cheap equipment pre-COVID and get some COVID funding that were able to sustain lower rates longer than they ever have, right? But he had made a point that like somewhere around this year or somewhere within the next 6 months, give or take, like all of those trucks that were bought around COVID pre-inflation, like they're going to need rebuilds. Like you can't indefinitely run those. So like they're coming up with a large expense that most of them haven't had enough money saved away to be able to pay for. And the ones that bought equipment at the peak that was really expensive, they're running out of the savings that they were able to bank during the
If they
peak of the
saved
rate.
anything, because a lot of them
If they
didn't.
saved anything, right?
Yeah.
So like you're still, it's not an indefinite run of, hey, rates can stay this low forever, but shippers will take advantage of anything they can. That's the way the free market works. The people paying for these things are going to try to drive costs down until they can't, and then service fails, then rates go back up. That's the cycle that happens in every free market, the economic cycle.
Eh,
But the thing that I wanted to segue into are the guardrails, because it's not a level playing field. If every driver is supposed to be able to legally drive for, say, 11 hours a day with the resets and everything, right? Some of them aren't playing by that rule, right? And then when you have carriers that are doing what they ethically should be doing, not driving when they're tired, making sure their trucks are maintained, they're the ones going out of business. Where the other carriers, and you guys have uncovered a lot of evidence as to how some of these carriers are bringing the entire freight market down and keeping it there, to me is, I think, where drivers and ethical trucking company owners should be angry. Like this is where they should be directing this frustration and anger, as opposed to companies that want to work with them, give them more business and help them maintain their equipment at better rates.